This is Vasavi from At Home. So today we are going to learn about the pair of linear equation with two variables. Okay. Take an example like you would have learned the algebraic equations like x plus 5, right? X plus 5 equals some number, say for instance 10. And we solve for x here, right? So this you would have learned before, and this is a linear equation. Okay, this is a linear equation, but you have only one variable, that is one letter in this equation, so that would be a linear equation with one variable. Okay, so here, since it is two variables, your linear equation will have two letters, two variables, like, say for instance, you can have x plus 2y equals 10 or something like that. Okay, here I can call it linear equation with two variables because I have two variables here, one x and one y. Okay, so now you understood why do we call it as linear equation with two variables, right? Now next is, what is this linear equation? What do you mean by this linear equation? Here I told you this one is linear equation with one variable. That is because the power of this, the exponent of this x is just 1, right? If nothing is given, you take it as 1. So, as long as the highest degree of the equation is 1, you call it linear equation. Understood? Here too, this is a linear equation with two variables, but this is linear because the exponents of the variable is 1. I repeat one thing, I would like to mention one thing here. If nothing is given for x, the exponent nothing is mentioned, it is 1, okay? Because we all know that x raised to 1 is x, right? So that means if nothing is given as exponent for a variable, you take it as 1. Okay. If it was, some may think it is 0, nothing is given, it is 0. No. When it is 0, it will no longer be x, it becomes 1. Anything raised to 0 is 1, right? So, if you have any variable without any exponent, you can take the exponent as 1 as long as the exponent of the variables in an equation is 1. You can call it linear equations. Understood? When it is x squared, you call it quadratic equation. When the highest degree is 1, you call it linear equation. Linear means straight. So that is why we call it linear equation, because when you graph this, you get a straight line. Put that in graph, you would get a slope like a straight line. Okay, for quadratic equation, your graph would be like, it would be a U-shaped graph like this. Understood? Actually, when you have two variables, okay, you need a set of equations, that is two equations. Only then you can find the value of x and y. Say for instance, if you have x plus y equals 5, okay, so here x and y can take up any value. Okay, you can put infinite number of values for x, and accordingly your y also changes. But with this equation, if you want to know the exact value of x or y, you need one more equation, like another equation, maybe something like this. That is why we say pair of linear equations. Okay, you will have two equations here to solve for the variables. Understood? So in this lesson, you're going to have all linear equation, that too a pair of linear equation with two variables. And I also like to mention one thing. The number of equation given in the question will be, equation will be in par with the number of variables in the equation. So if it is a linear equation with one variable, Say, as I told you before, if it is just x plus 5 equals 0, I can very well solve this because I just have one variable here. So one equation will do for me to solve. Find the value of x, right? So I take away 5 from both sides, and so I get my x as negative 5, right? So if you have one variable, one equation will do. If you have two different variables in an equation, then you will have one more equation to solve for the variables. Understood? So that is what I said. The number of equations will be given will be equal to the number of variables you find in that equation. Understood? So I hope why this name is given to this lesson. So here it is a pair of equation, a pair of linear equation, that too with two variables. Okay. I would like to summarize few things. Equations which can put in the form of ax plus by plus c equals to 0, where a, b, c are real numbers and a and b are not both 0, is called linear equation in two variables. So I've just given you the definition of linear equation here. So what the general form of linear equation is mentioned here. We wrote like x plus y equals 10. Just bring the constant term to your left side. So you would have x plus y minus 10 equals 0, right? So this is the general form of a linear equation. So you have a x term, you have a y term, and you will have a constant on your left side, and that will be equal to 0. And here you find a, b and c, right? So in this equation, the a, b and c are the coefficients. Okay. A will be the coefficient of x and b will be the coefficient of y. So here the coefficient is 1. Nothing is given, so it is 1x and 1y. Okay. So here your a is 1 and your b is 1. And the c is the constant term. So I can say my c equals negative 10. That is, you have to take it with the sign, minus sign. Okay. So this is what is mentioned here. So the general form of a linear equation is ax plus by plus c equals 0. And a and b are the coefficient of x and y, and they are real numbers. And c is also a constant or a real number. Okay. And see here, you cannot have a and b as 0. Just imagine if I put 0x plus 2y equals 5. Just think, if the coefficient of x, that is my a is 0. That means this is not there, right? There is no value for this. So here, this won't be the linear equation in two variables. It becomes linear equation in one variable, right? You just have the y here. So likewise, even your y cannot be 0. Say for instance, if you have x plus 0y, that means the y is 0 there and you don't have the value there. So what happens? This y is gone, and here now it is a linear equation but in one variable. Okay. So to have it as linear equation in two variables, your coefficients shouldn't be 0. Okay. So I have just noted down all the points. Here you see that a and b are the coefficient of x and y respectively. A is the coefficient of x and b is the coefficient of y. Now, c is the constant term. C is constant. Okay. It doesn't change. Where x and y keeps changing according to the values given to one variable, whereas c is always the same. A, B and C are real numbers, right? You have all numbers there. And you cannot have A equals 0, A equals 0 and B equals 0. Okay, this is not possible. A cannot be equal to 0 and B cannot be equal to 0. So geometrically, each solution, in case if you find a solution, you can have any number of solutions, right? Each solution x and y of a linear equation in two variables corresponds to a point on the line representing the equation. So I tell you what this is. So I told you, when you take x plus y equals 10, an example x plus y equals 10, you can have different values here. When I take x as 1, your y can be 9, right? Okay. When I give value 2 to my x, your y can be 8. 3, it can be 7. If I give 0 for x, it can be 10 here, right? So the values, the x and y values, this is the coordinates, okay? These coordinates are the solutions to the equation, and when you plot that, okay, when you plot it in an xy graph, what happens is you get a straight line, like, you may get a straight line like this, okay? And every point, all these point will be a point on this line only, okay? All the points falls here, understood? Any point you can take will be on the line, okay? It will satisfy this equation. Any point on the line you take, that would satisfy this equation. If it doesn't satisfy, it will fall away from the line, okay? Fine. So here again I'll tell you, the general form of pair of linear equation in two variables, I said you will have a pair, right? Pair of linear equations. So here I've taken equation 1 and equation 2. So to make the difference, I've just made it like a1x plus b1y plus c1. c1 is constant 1 equals 0, and a2x plus b2y plus c2 equals 0. And here I told you, as we said, the coefficients and the constants are all real numbers, okay? And the coefficients can never be equal to 0. You have different methods to solve this linear equations, okay, in two variables. So you can use the algebraic method or the graphical method, okay? So in algebra 2 you have different methods. You can use substitution, simultaneous equation method, or you can use elimination method, and finally you have one more, cross multiplying, okay? So you can solve this linear equation in any of these ways, okay? Graphically or algebraically. So graphically, you plot it in a graph and get the answer. Look at the two lines and you get the answer. And algebraically, you solve for x and y, okay? And you can, for that you can use substitution method, elimination method, or the cross method, okay? Whichever you are comfortable with, unless and otherwise they specify you to follow a particular method. So in the coming videos we'll be saying like how we solve for the linear equation in two variables, graphically as well as algebraically. Till then, take care.